So I guess you took a hiatus, like you said previously in this podcast, for like 10 years where you didn't play drum set. But then obviously now you play a lot of drum set.
Yeah.
What sort of crossover happened between like marching quads and like the skill sets that you learned and mastered and crafted over like those 10 years facilitated you to like pick it up quickly, or maybe quicker than you would have without it, and just like apply that to playing the kit?
I mean, yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's like, well, I'm the kind of person, like when I do something, I'm like either like all into it or I'm not, so like now that I'm aged out, I'm like all into drum set, and so it's like I play, almost every day pretty much for like a couple hours probably. So yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of crossover, not like actual crossovers, but things that apply to drum set from the marching world and vice versa. Actually, like I feel like playing drum set a lot has made me a better quad drummer, even though I don't actually play quads that often, if that makes sense. I don't know.
I think it makes, yeah.
At least like, I might not be able to play like as quite as many. Oh, almost dropped my phone. I might not be able to play like quite as difficult of a rounds as I maybe used to, but I don't know. I definitely have more chops, I guess I'm also older, so I've just been constantly improving things too, so
efficiency.
Exactly. Yeah. Just refine the technique, get more relaxed, more efficient. But I think that is part of it too, is like in marching stuff, you focus more on, there's a lot more emphasis on the downstroke, like stopping the stick, playing with two heights and stuff. Whereas drum set, it's like, yeah, it's important, but it's also not, it's like I'm the only person playing. So if my like downstroke is slightly like rebounds a little bit, it's like not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's like, obviously you want to have refined heights for dynamics and stuff, of course, but like, I feel like since I play drum set, I've become a lot more efficient with my technique. I don't stop the stick like nearly as much. I try to let everything rebound as much as I can when I can,
It's like much more about like the rhythmic accuracy than maybe like,
obviously
the balance person to person, because that's not a thing.
Yeah, it's not a thing. It's like I just gotta sound good with myself. So who cares if the heights or whatever they are? You know what I mean? It's like, and then I've kind of let my technique become more adaptable. It's like some days like I'll play more French, or some days I'll play another way or whatever. It's like whatever feels good. Whereas I feel like when I was marching, I was very like set in stone with like, this is what my hands are. Like this is what they look like. Yeah. Which it was kind of nice because it was like I knew my technique through and through. But now it's like I feel like some days I'm just like, oh, I don't know, this feels kind of weird. Oh, okay, that feels better. It's like, but I don't know. And then I just like try to play everything as relaxed as possible now, which you should still do when you're marching. But I feel like you get caught up in the way things look sometimes.
Definitely.
That creates unnecessary tension. You know what I mean? It's like to make something look a certain way, you have to sometimes force your body to do something that's slightly unnatural. In theory, you should not be doing that, but it doesn't always work out.
I think to that point too, groups are getting less, or they're getting more away from like, does everyone's heights match? And more focused on like, does everyone's sound match, which I'm 100% for. There's no way that all the heights are always going to match and the sound always going to match. That's just not physiologically possible. But with the drum set too, to call back, you had mentioned like so much time with Pete, like drilling grids into like your feet. But now obviously it's the same concept, but a little bit different. Like you're not doing quarter notes with your feet all the time, but there is a sense of pulse that stays the same while moving and shifting throughout these like hemiola or like over the bar line rhythms and stuff like that. So
totally. Well, and like if I'm going to work on like a foot, like independence thing or something, I'll pretty much always play the grids on top of it first. You know what I mean? It's like if I'm going to play like a samba or something, I'll play like a samba with my feet, do, and then I'll play like 16th out grid on top of that, or like try to play triple grid or whatever, you know what I mean? So I still like almost always will play those, even if I'm just like, trying to work on the independency. But you're right. It's like, I feel like before the marching thing really helped me to understand timing better than I feel like I ever really would have. without it. You know what I mean? Like micro timing and how to actually play with the Met. I feel like I didn't really know how to play with the Met until I like started marching. You know, like it was like I kind of played with the Met, but not actually with the Met. If that makes sense. It was like the Met was happening and my stuff was happening. The Met was happening, my stuff was happening around the right time, but it wasn't really at the right time. You know.
For sure. Playing with a Met is undervalued in today's world. I played with this track. I was like, well, okay, but play with the Met.
Yeah, you can do both. You know,
they're both important. Exactly.
Yes, they both have their benefits.
Yep. And I mean, obviously, like, you know, rudiment stuff like totally applies. You know, like if you can, like sometimes it's like, I guess it just depends on how creative you are. You know what I mean? It's like you can make inverted flam taps into a groove if you're creative enough. You know what I mean? Or like a fill. And then there's some stuff where it's like I play it, I'm like, I don't know if that would ever work. But then it's like maybe I'm just not thinking of it the right way. You know, it's like.
So that's something I know. I checked out a couple of your drum set videos Evan sent me links to before we did this, and I noticed there was a lot of overlap in the rudimental space. Like you play a lot of paradiddle diddles, like a lot of paradiddle rudiments moving around the kit, and it's funny. I always it strikes me when I see someone do that a lot because I remember purposely like there was you know who Pat Petrillo is.
Oh yeah, of course.
All right, he went to Morehead State way back in the day, so he came and did like a drum set clinic, and I wasn't a music student, but I still went just because he's a good, famous drummer, and you know wanted to go see what was going on. And I noticed when he was doing the clinic, he didn't really play a whole lot of rudiments, and if any at all, really. Like he's a phenomenal drum set player, and has the pocket just like locked. Yeah, he can. But so I asked him, I was like, "Do you ever apply any of the rudimental stuff from when you were marching?" And he goes, "Nope." Not really. And I was like, it's just so funny how some person can apply a ton of it and be a really good drum set player, and somebody could not really need or want to use any of it, and they're still just like both phenomenal at what they do. It's such
I think the difference is in the style. More, you know, like Pat is, he's like you're saying, he's phenomenal, but he plays more like pop and like rock kind of stuff, like more like you know Beatles-y kind of sounding stuff. Where it's like you can't imagine Ringo Starr ripping a bunch of paradiddles around, like, you know what I mean? It just wouldn't sound right. So it's like if he was to do that, it wouldn't fit the style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm like playing like a death metal thing and I just like play some quarter notes, it's not going to fit the style. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, I guess whatever you're doing has to fit into the context of what you're trying to do. You know?
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.